Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and today I am excited to bring you two reviews of these replica home arcade machines from a company called Arcade1Up. Now, if you're not familiar with these, basically they're fully licensed 3/4 scale arcade machines for your home or your game room. Now, this company is attempting to recreate in extreme detail the original artwork and instructions for these classic arcade machines. In addition to that, they claim to include authentic arcade joysticks, buttons, and controllers, although as you see in this video as it goes along, that may or may not be the case. And to help me out with this video, I recruited two people to help me with this. The first one is Paul, who is an expert at Street Fighter 2, and of course my buddy Drunken Master Paul. And the first machine we're going to take a look at is the Street Fighter 2 arcade machine. Again, this is by Arcade1Up. And this one includes 3 versions of Street Fighter 2. So you have Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, you also have Super Street Fighter 2, and then you have Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Here's a look at the control setup for it. A lot going on here. Of course, you'll notice that it supports 2 players, although because this is a slightly shrunken game cabinet, you're pretty close together. You're pretty much elbow to elbow if you do that. But let's go ahead and turn it on. You see the on-off switch right there, and then it goes into a nice boot up screen, and then you get the main menu where you can select whatever game you want to play. Also, the volume switch has 3 positions. You have off, low, and high. And then I just asked Paul to start playing the games and tell me what he thought. Now, the reason why I reached out to Paul is because when I asked around in the gaming community, like Reggie and John Riggs, they all said he's the man who knows how to play this game in the arcades. He's a hardcore player. He is the guy who would notice if there was anything lacking in here, anything wrong, or anything he didn't like. Oh, dirty. It's at this point I want to mention something pretty important, and that is the scale of this arcade unit, because every single person who has come over and taken a look at it and played on it has been kind of surprised at how small it actually is. Now, on the website, they do claim that it is 3/4 scale, and we measured it compared to my real arcade machine. But I gotta tell you, in real life, it is smaller than you might expect. And that can be a good or bad thing depending on what you need and again, what you are prepared for. So just be aware they do sell an actual optional riser, which I think personally helps. But again, just be aware it's definitely on the smaller side.
This intro is probably one of the more iconic intros in fighting games, because you never saw anything like this.
I have to admit, it was pretty fun watching somebody like Paul, who's excellent at playing the arcade versions of this, just going through each one of these games, and he spent like an hour or 2 just checking these things out, and he walked away fairly impressed. I mean, he liked how the buttons felt. There was the right amount of spring there. Now, he did notice that the joystick is a ball top here on this version. That's slightly different than the elongated bat top that we were used to in North America. It's not a big deal, but longtime players like him, might need some time to get used to it.
Jump at me. The Street Fighter 2 cabinet is super cool. The fact that it comes with the 3 games, the controls super responsive, the graphics really crisp, and I would highly recommend this to anybody who wants a Street Fighter 2 cab in their own home.
Now let's take a look at the Asteroids machine, which, like the previous, is a 3/4 scale reproduction of the original arcade machine, including the original marquee and side art. This arcade machine also has its own control scheme. Notice there's no joystick. Instead, you have the spinner control, which is going to be very important later on in this video. And like the previous cab, you also have an on or off switch, as well as a volume switch that goes into off, low, or high volume. And for this review, I'm gonna have my buddy Drunken Master Paul come help me out, because he is very familiar with these since they are slightly older games, and he was really excited to check this machine out. So you see you have Asteroids, Tempest, Major Havoc, and Lunar Lander. So we're gonna go ahead and check out Asteroids first, and this game was originally released to arcades in 1979. I was kind of surprised it was that old, but you know, this is vector-based graphics, so it's pretty old. That said, Asteroids is still a really fun game, and it plays very well on this machine. No complaints here at all. Next up, he checked out Lunar Lander, also released in 1979, and this is another vector-based game that has you attempting to land your spaceship on the moon safely before your fuel runs out. I don't know if you've ever played Lunar Lander before, but it's a surprisingly nuanced and intense game, and again, it works really well on this machine.
But it's stressing me out, man.
And then we checked out Tempest, and like I mentioned previously, this game uses the rotary spinner controller, and this is where we ran into a little bit of trouble.
I love Tempest. It's a great game, but this is really hard to play on this. The spinner sticks. You should be able to just spin this around and around and around.
Yeah, this really sucks. I mean, we even opened up the control panel to see if there was something that we could do. Maybe it was damaged in shipping or something.
So the game itself is perfect, but you can't play it. Tempest needs a spinner, and this won't spin. It sticks. So you have to actually lift and move your. It's more of a flicker than a spinner. Tempest needs to be able to spin this, and the thing goes all the way around, but it doesn't. It's very sticky, and it makes it almost unplayable.
Another game that uses that spinner controller is Major Havoc, another game that Paul was really looking forward to. This is actually a really fun game, but again, it's unplayable with that broken, stiff, crappy spinning controller. I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised that the company sent me this unit for review with such a poor controller. So I reached out to them to see if they're even aware of the issue, and they said that they are. So I'll go ahead and let Paul tell the story.
Okay, so the Arcade1Up, Asteroids, Tempest, Lunar Lander, and Major Havoc cabinet. Overall, I think it's really cool. I like it a lot. The graphics are fantastic. The buttons all feel really strong and arcadey. Asteroids itself was really fun to play, just like the arcade. The only downside with Asteroids is it doesn't save your high score. Don't know why. You go out to the main menu, come back, it's gone. So a little bit of a bummer, but not a deal breaker. Lunar Lander was fun as well. Same kind of button controls. I believe on the original arcade cabinet, though, it had a physical, like a throttle that you used for your fuel and your thrust, and that's not on here, but honestly that doesn't really take away from the game that much, so that one's still pretty fun to play. The downside is that the two games I really look forward to playing on this, Tempest and Major Havoc, are kind of unplayable on this right now, and that's because of this spinner, and it's not acting like a spinner. I mean, you can hear that? It's almost like a button. It's like a left-right control. And in both those games, you really need to spin it to get your targeting thing around Tempest and to get Major Havoc to fly into the wall and not get zapped. So that rendered the games pretty much useless. But there's good news, because we contacted the company and they let us know that this is actually a pre-production control panel because they wanted to get it to us in time to review. And they said that's been addressed. They know about it, it's been addressed, it's all fixed for the production model. Hopefully they did take care of that, in which case this will be a fantastic cabinet to play those games on. And overall, I really liked it. I'm stoked to have this in the DNP Monkey Bar.
So that is our review of the Street Fighter II and Asteroids arcade machines from Arcade1Up.com. These are going to retail for around $300, and they're going to be available at places like Walmart, but you can just go to Arcade1Up.com to get more information. I want to do a huge shout out to both Pauls for coming over and hanging out in the game room and helping me with this video review. You guys were awesome. All right, guys, have a great day.